Greetings, friend. My name is David McLeod. Thanks for joining me for this week's video message from The Magic of I Am. According to recorded American history, Franklin D. Roosevelt said during his first inaugural address that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. This is a pretty powerful statement, especially when it's viewed in the context of his whole address. And I can certainly understand how FDR might have come to that conclusion. But when it's taken out of context, I think it's a misleading statement because it suggests two things. First, that there is one thing that we should be afraid of. And two, that we should ignore and put aside all other fears. Many of us have been taught from an early age that we should never give up, that we should not allow fear to stop us from doing things or being who we really are. Well, the subtext of that message, of course, is that fear is bad, and we should do everything in our power to avoid it or eliminate it. And yet, as I'm sure you've already noticed in your life, fear still seems to show up from time to time. It certainly shows up in my life in spite of all the work I've done on myself. So the question really is, what are we supposed to do with an energy that is supposed to be bad, but which keeps showing up over and over again in our lives, in all kinds of different circumstances? Well, my answer is simple. Pay attention. You see, in my view, there are really only two types of fear. First, there's a kind of fear that is meant to alert you to a very real danger that you need to pay attention to as quickly as possible. In this case, there may be an actual threat to your well-being. And so your natural tendency will be to protect yourself so that you can survive. Of course, all of us have to deal with this kind of fear whenever it happens, and thankfully pretty rarely, in order to take good care of ourselves and our loved ones. Now, the second type of fear is the kind of fear that seems to emanate from the ego mind, which, as we know, is always trying to keep us safe, especially from imagined dangers. The ego mind maintains its own database of all your past experiences, with particular focus on the ones that caused you pain or discomfort. And then later on in your life, for virtually every new experience that you encounter, the ego mind looks into its database to identify all previous experiences that have similar qualities and attributes to the situation that you might find yourself in right now. Just like Google, this search engine compares experiences from your past and draws attention to those which it thinks have the highest likelihood of causing you similar pain again. Well, this is both good and bad for all of us. Of course, the ego mind may be alerting us to a real danger. But as you could probably already see, just because something didn't work out so well for us in the past does not guarantee that it will not work out for us in the present or in the future. So the idea is that the fear that we are feeling now may be completely irrational or unjustified. It turns out that most of our fears fall into this second category. Now think about this for a second. How much of your life is actually spent in real danger? Not much, I bet, thankfully. The truth is, most of our fears are nothing more than the irrational lies of an ego mind, which, in its zeal to keep us safe, may actually be making stuff up in order to get us to avoid things. Now, regardless of which type of fear may be getting hold of you, the first thing to do is, as I said earlier, pay attention. Once you've identified and eliminated any real danger to yourself, then look at what's left and simply ask yourself this question. Is this true? Is there really anything for me to be afraid of? Most of the time, I think you'll see that your fear is nothing more than a story, an imagined fear that doesn't really have any legitimacy. However, it still activates you and reminds you of your presence in this physical, real world. And if you choose, you can see it as a signal that something exciting and new and wonderful may be right around the corner. My invitation to you for this week is to welcome and embrace your fear for the gifts that it brings you, and begin to see it as a harbinger of good things in your life. After all, in spite of all the scary things that may have happened to you in your past, you're still here. You're still growing. You're still evolving and changing, right? Well, bravo. Enjoy the process.